Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the free hour. It's your boy Trevor Turner, back with another video. We're back with another episode in our productivity series. We've talked about aligning with purpose for the sake of productivity, and we've also talked about batching, where we put together tasks of similar type so that we don't have to get out of our flow state. And then, of course, aligning with purpose is trying to do the things that will get us to where we want to go. It'll help us be more productive. Obviously, there are things that we are going to have to do that are not going to align with purpose. But if we are conscious of the things that we put into our day that will help us get to our purpose and where we want to go and want to end up, those are the things that are going to help us get there, obviously. And the theme of this series, obviously, is aligning productivity with purpose. It's with a focus on how effective habits and purposeful actions, intentional actions, can steadily increase productivity by aligning tasks with long-term goals. And we're on the letter C today. For our productivity series, we're on the letter C, and the question I got to start us off with today is, are you using your calendar as a powerful tool for success, or are you just using it for appointments? Is your calendar something that you are using to structurally plan your day and how you're going to achieve your goals and get to your purpose, or are you just putting your appointments in it? Are you just putting your meetings in it? Are you just putting doctor's appointments in it? Are you just putting the big events, people's birthdays, holidays, your kids' track meet? Are you just using it for that, or are you using it as the powerful tool for success that it is? And in this video, we're going to talk about how to use calendars effectively to align daily tasks with long-term goals. We're going to talk about how to manage time efficiently using those things. We're going to talk about how to create space for purpose-driven work. So let's dive in. So when we talk about calendars, it is not just for appointments. Calendars is not something that we just write down, okay, I have to be here at this time on this day. It is not just for that, although a lot of times that's all we use it for. A lot of times what we do is we have that calendar, and it's just the month calendar, and it has the days of the month, and we might put, okay, Sammy B Day, Mom B Day, anniversary, doctor's appointment, kids track meet, big race. Oh, the comedian I like is coming to town on that day. Or this movie releases on that day. This video game comes out that day. And I got my alerts set up. I got everything going on. But for the most part, so many of our days are just open. There's nothing there. Unless we work and like with appointments, or we work with clients and we have those things scheduled. We might have meetings scheduled. So it's like, okay, I got a 9 o'clock meeting. But from the time you get to work, there's nothing until 9 o'clock. After the meeting is over at 10, there's nothing until the next day, the next appointment, the next meeting. The power of calendars is this. You can use them for structured planning. Dr. Gail Matthews, psychologist and researcher known for her work on goal setting and productivity, particularly around strategies to increase the likelihood of achieving goals. She said, people who write down their goals and schedule them are more likely to achieve them. The thing about it is this: structured time management with a calendar ensures that daily activities contribute to long-term goals. One of the things that we've talked about at length, and we always talk about this, the time blocking, especially as it comes from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. One of the things that a lot of other people will tell you about, or a lot of other even success literature, is the importance of having something like a to-do list. Knowing the things that you need to do that day to get you to where you want to go. And that is an amazing and great first step. Unfortunately is lacking. Because literally what you've done is you've failed to plan. All you've done is you said, okay, I know where it is that I want to go. I know what it is that I want to do, but you haven't said how you want to get there. You haven't said when you are going to take the time to do it. You haven't said, okay, what else do I have going on in my day that is going to keep me from doing this? When can I put this into my day? And see, the thing about that is this: when you start to use your calendar and utilize your calendar effectively, the first step is to write down everything that you got going on, everything that you know you have to do. And a lot of times we don't do that because we just think like, okay, it's automatic. I know I have to be at work at this time. I know my lunch is at that time. I know I get off at that time. I know I have to take my kids to football practice at this time. I know I have to take my daughter to her dance practice at this time. I know I have to take my son to his extracurricular activities at this time. I know I have to take the both of them to martial arts right after. I know I have to do this all the time. The things that I need to remember are when they have the martial arts tournaments, when they have when my daughter is playing on her soccer team or her football team, and when my son is doing his dance recital or piano recital or his soccer team or football team. Their matches, their games, whatever the case, their tournaments. And we mark those things down. But then we try to do these to-do lists, and it's like, okay, so I'm going to do this today. And you try to rack your brain thinking about, okay, when can I fit this in? And sometimes that's enough to overwhelm people to the point that it never gets done. They're trying to figure out how to fit it in because they're not using any tools for structured planning. So the first step that you have to do is you have to write down everything that you do every single day and just time block it. Time block it. We talk about time blocking. This is how we're going to do it. This is the nitty-gritty of how we're going to do it. Before you even assign yourself the roles, before you even look at the long-term goals, before you even look at the destination of where you want to go, you start writing down the things that you do every single day already. Get you something, a calendar. Do it by the week. Have hour slots. What time does your day start? Start it right there. What time do you go to sleep? What time does your day end? End it right there. Mine is 5 a.m. I'm trying to be in bed by 10 or 11. Obviously, it don't happen like that every time. But that's where I end my calendar at. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I don't do Saturday and Sunday. Those are my days. And it's just to where it's like, okay, I just write down, I'm going to be doing this in the morning. I'm going to be doing this in the afternoon. I'm going to be doing this in the evening because all of it is free. I don't have to do an hour-by-hour schedule because all of it is free. I don't work on the weekends. But if you do work on the weekends and you want to include your weekends in your weekly planning, and then you want to go through Monday through Sunday or Monday through Friday or whatever your work schedule is like, you want to put not when you arrive at work and start work, but when you have to leave for work. Put your lunch in there. Put the time that you get, not that you get off, but the time that you get home. So if you have a commute, you factor that in. You don't say, okay, I get off at 5 and just put work end at 5, thinking that you're able to plan something at 6, knowing that you don't get home until 6:30, that you got to commute or that you take the bus and it takes a long time. So the way I do it is this. I wake up at 5. I got to be on my way walking to the bus stop a little bit before 7 o'clock. It takes me about a little bit over 10 minutes to walk up to the bus stop. Okay, so 6:45, 6:50 is marked work. I'm on the bus, right? And I'll write in parentheses or something, bus, commute, whatever, because that in and of itself is a little bit of free time. But a lot of people, you're not going to have that. You're going to be in the car. You might be able to get away with listening to an audio book. You might be able to get away with do some language learning. But for the most part, you're going to have to be focusing on driving. This is not free time that you can block and schedule for something else. So you got your work time set. Boom. And I start my shift at my first job, 8 o'clock. I'm at work. So I write that in. I leave that job at 9:30. I go to class. So I write class from 9:30 till 1 o'clock on Monday. I write in work shift until 2:30. I write another class. That Monday class, it goes till about 6. Boom, and then I'm on the bus. So I keep that. I just put bus or I put commute or I continue to leave it as class until I get home, which is around 7. 7, there's nothing. Trying to get in the gym, though, like every day around 8 o'clock. So I'm, boom, gym, 8 o'clock, 8 to 10, gym. And then it ends because after that, it's just shower, get into bed, wind down, get ready to go. And my day kind of varies, but like that is how you do it. You do it in that way so you know when you have time, you know when you have empty slots. Okay? So let's talk about how to use these our calendars effectively. Now that we've done that first step. And obviously, it's time blocking. Time blocking is a method to allocate specific periods in your calendar for focused tasks. And the point of time blocking is this. When I get to work at 8 a.m., I have a measure of leeway in the things that I can decide to do with my workday. So when I pull up to work at 9, obviously I do the first things first, and I get, I work in a place where students can come and get things, and they can get supplies, they can get things like coffee, they can get snacks, whatever. So I have to do that and make sure that that is ready for them. But that takes 5-10 minutes, if that. Clean it up, wipe it down real good. It doesn't take long because somebody did it either the night before or I did it the night before. And I just make sure everything's restocked, make sure they got snacks, all that other stuff. And then I can sit down. Okay, so boom. This is where I get my first time block structure. Now what it is is that now I am able to decide what it is that I want to do. I'm able to decide what it is that I'm going to spend and utilize my brain power on now that I'm fresh, now that I've first gotten here. On the bus, I might have done some personal stuff. I might have took that time to try and read a little bit. I might have took that time to kind of go through some language learning or whatever the case may be. So my mind might be a little bit more sparked, awakened towards creativity. Like, I don't want to count paper packs to send to the students in prison very early in the day. I don't want to do mindless activity. I don't want to even check my emails. I don't want to return calls. I don't want to do any of that. So this is where I might dedicate the time and write it down in my calendar that I'm going to be working on either creating interview questions, creating research instruments, depending on which job I'm working at in the morning, and where I'm saying like, okay, I want to spend this time creating, the 8 to 9:30. I want to spend that time working on something creative, something where I can utilize the brain power that I got where I'm fresh, and it's going to come out good. I'm not going to have to try to switch or do anything. I got that whole time blocked out. It's about doing stuff like that, like dedicating the first 2 hours of your workday to deep work, followed by your smaller time blocks for things like meetings and administrative tasks. And one of the things that we do is we take a look at the times that we have, the free times that we have, and we start to fill those things up with blocks of other time. Just the way I said that I like to put my recurring stuff, like my 8 to 10, that's the gym. That's literally a time block that I've integrated, so long ago that it's just become like as rock solid as my work schedule. Like, it's just in there. It's not even something that I would like attribute to, something like a personal whatever desire or whatever the case. It's like, it's just rock solid. Now that we've done that, we start to, figure out how we're going to commit our time. So it's like, okay, I got my first hour and a half free at work. Boom, I'm doing my creative tasks, or I'm doing my deep work, or I'm doing my, sales presentation, or I'm doing whatever the case, whatever I need to do that normally requires me to be fresh. Because if I try to do this in the afternoon, or if I try to, and we talked about this in the batching, trying to find the peak energy levels that correspond with the current task, because there are mindless tasks that you can do later on in the day that you can just do as a breeze and kind of fly through. But there are other tasks that you need to be fresh. And so you decide how to do that. And then how we decide how to do it is we set our priorities. And we prioritize our tasks and schedule high impact activities during our peak productivity times. And the way that I like to do this is I like to pull them from the quadrant-based time management system from the 7 Habits. You got your 1, which is the urgent and important. Those are things like meetings. Those are things like appointments. Those are things like, phone calls. When somebody calls you on the phone and it's an important phone call and it is automatically urgent because you have to answer the phone at that time to deal with that person, right? But then also you have high impact activities that aren't necessarily super urgent, but they are more important than any of these other urgent activities that you have going on. Let's say you have a video project. Let's say you're a videographer. Let's say you're an editor. Let's say you're one of those people, and you have a project that isn't due or, isn't required to get to the client or whatever until like a month from now. But you shot hours of B-roll for this thing. You have to chop down an hour interview into a minute and a half for a reel. And you have all of this B-roll that you have to sort through and label and start to edit and start to color correct. The thing about it is this: you know that that's a high impact task because it's going to be paying you the most, but you know that you can't only focus on that all day, every day, because it's not due. It's not expected to be completed for a while. And you got all these other little projects that are. You got like a wedding video you got to put together by next weekend. You got a video of an event, a promo video, a commercial, whatever the case. And you have all of these things that are due like in a more pressing manner, and they are less work. But I would also say less impact because they're probably paying less, right? They're the things that kind of keep the lights on, but these other ones are going to kind of put you in the upper stratosphere. These other ones are going to kind of be the ones that you can put in your portfolio. These other ones are going to be the ones that you can kind of say like, okay, yeah, I do all this other stuff and they're great. So if you want to hire me for the $250, whatever, you want to pay $500 for this video of your event. Okay, I can do that. And here's my portfolio. I got a whole bunch of stuff there. But if you want me to do this, here's some examples of that. And that's going to run you 5 bands. That's going to run you 7 bands. That's going to run you 10 bands. That's going to run you 12, 15, whatever the case, right? But you know that you can't just do that all day. You know you can't from Monday to Friday do that all day because everything that's expected over the weekend is not going to get done. So you schedule that high impact activity during your peak productivity time, and the way that you prioritize it is by your roles. It's by your roles. So one of the things that you do is you decide where it is that you want to go. You decide what it is that you're trying to chase. You decide what it is that the destination that you're trying to get to, right? And see, the thing about it is this: being a provider and reaching your dreams are going to be 2 different goals. They're going to be 2 different roles. And the way that you differentiate those things is you say, okay, so I want to fulfill the role as a provider. I want to fulfill the role as somebody who is able to keep the lights on. I want to fulfill the role as somebody who's able to pay my bills and just be an adult. But I also want to fulfill this role of reaching my dreams and becoming the person or the videographer or the salesperson or the person in the company that I want to be, that does this big project, that gets this big high impact thing done. And you take those roles and you assign them based on that time blocks. And you give yourself 2 hours to work on the high impact. And you give yourself 2 hours to work on the stuff that's going to keep the lights on. You use the roles to help you define what tasks you're going to be doing that week. And you also kind of help them assign them priority. Because the thing about it is this: just like we can get lost in the importance of that high impact task and only do that and only chase that, you can just as easily get lost in the low impact tasks that you do day in and day out that keep the lights on, that pay the bills, and get sidetracked from your purpose, your bigger calling, your bigger vision, just as easily. That's how you set the priorities on it. So next we're going to talk about choosing the right calendar format. So now that we have gone through the importance of doing our time blocking, now that we've gone through the importance of just saying like, okay, I'm going to write down everything I do throughout the day. I'm going to write down where I have time and where I have free time. And first of all, as soon as you write it down, you're going to realize that you got more time than you think you did. And you're going to start to realize like, okay, I do spend a lot of my time either doing like escape type activities, trying to get away from reality because I'm not happy with what it is that I'm at, where I'm at, trying to get away from the present. So instead of using those present times for my purpose and for my dreams, I'm doing other things like scrolling. I'm doing other things like playing a lot, a lot of games and things like that. Times when I could be doing something else, but I just don't, quote unquote, have the energy. But the thing is this, once you actually start putting those things in your schedule and putting those things in your plan, like, yeah, when I get off the bus after I've been up here, going on 14 hours or whatever the case, right? Been going for 14 hours at work and school. Yeah, if I didn't have it on my schedule to like write 2 pages out of my book, because when I was locked up, I started writing a book. I started writing a couple books, but the one that I'm working on getting into my computer now, I started like very early, and I have, I have a lot written. But the thing is, I got to get it from that handwritten thing, and I got to get it into my computer, and I kind of got to proofread. I kind of got to go over and make it like into a good first draft, so I can go over and redo and make another, second draft and all the things like that. And if I didn't have that planned in my day for when I get home, 7 o'clock, I get home, I put my phone on the charger, and, I put my headphones on the charger, I put my sweats on, and while I'm waiting for it to charge, instead of just watching something on TV or watching something on my phone, even while it's charging, I have scheduled myself to do that. And one of the things is like, yeah, when you start scheduling yourself to do that stuff, you're going to find yourself more often than not with the energy to do it. Point blank, period. Being able to look at it written down, you're going to see where you have time, where you thought you didn't. You're going to see that you got way more time than you thought you did. And also, once you start to put those tasks in there, you're going to find the energy to do it. You're going to find the mental energy to do it, and you're going to start kicking yourself when you don't. Instead of just saying like, man, I really need to take the time to do better. I really need to take the time to chase my dreams. I really need to take the time to blah, blah, blah. You're going to know exactly what it is that you should have been doing that day. You're going to know exactly what it is that you should have been doing at that time. And you're going to start kicking yourself for not doing it at that time. Like, I was supposed to be writing at 7. Like, fuck, man. Like, that's an opportunity wasted. And you're going to start seeing yourself as a person who has way more opportunities than you thought you did. You're going to realize that every hour is an opportunity to be doing something that you want to do. You're going to realize that every bus ride is an opportunity to read a little bit of a book. Like, man, I don't got time to read books. If you take the bus, you do. If you drive, you got time to listen to an audio book. All of that. You have those opportunities. It's just that you don't have the time that you feel like you would want to do it. You don't have that quote unquote perfect time. But if you're always waiting for the perfect time, you'll never find the time to do any of this stuff. And that's why calendars are so important. That's why it's so important to put it down somewhere, to get it in your phone or to get it written down on pen and paper. So let's talk about the pros and cons of both, right? Now, it's really all about kind of finding the right system based upon individual preferences and your work styles, right? Do you, like, when you open your phone during your work day, when you pick your phone up, do you got a tendency to kind of want to go to social media? Do you got a tendency to want to open up YouTube? Do you got a tendency to want to start playing music, right? Or are you going to be able to have that discipline to open up, Google Calendar, to open up Outlook, to open up, some type of different calendar? That's step one. Also, if you're the type of person who likes to use that pen and paper calendar, like, are you actually going to pull it out? Are you actually going to carry it around with you? Like, I was the type of person like, oh, I need it on pen and paper, all that, I'm trying to be old school or whatever the fuck. I don't even barely pull that thing out, right? So once I realized that, like, it's in my backpack right now. But when people, even on the appointment tip, when people are like, hey, man, I need you to be free on this day. And I'll be like, all right, bet. And then I'll finally look at it like 3 days later and realize, like, damn, I made a commitment to somebody on a day that I was completely booked with shit to do. Like, I'll look at that physical thing on Monday when I'm doing my time blocking. And then, because a lot of my time blocking is even recurring. Like, a lot of my creative tasks happen at a recurring moment because I'm, like, very planned out. Everything, everywhere that I want to go is like planned. Every step of where I want to go is planned. Like I might take a moment every month or so to kind of reflect and kind of look back and say like, okay, how much progress did I make? Is the way I want to go good? Like, I mean, even with this stuff, with this video stuff, like look where I am now. Look at how much it's progressing. Look at how much, look at where where I'm at with it. So it's like I'm able to say, okay, like I'm making a little bit of progress. I'm doing a little bit of something right. I'm talking about good stuff. I'm doing my due diligence and preparation. And, I'm up here and I'm making sense and I'm not talking no gibberish and no bullshit. And it's like, okay, so that works. Like I can keep my time blocks like that and solid. So it's like I'll find myself not even pulling that thing out. But, when I pick up my phone and I open my phone, I don't necessarily go straight to my social medias. Like I might open up Notion. I might open up Google Calendar. I might open up the Apple Calendar. I might open up something else first. So you have to find something that you know that you're going to get to, and you know that it's going to be easy to get to it without any type of, delays or without any type of distractions. And then also you got to get one that's easy to work with for you. And I think the problem for a lot of people is that writing things down, pen and paper, is that one, you fill it up. You have to go get another one. Two, they're not made like, if you don't necessarily like every little bit of the template that's there in the printed pen and paper thing, you can't make changes to it, right? Then also, you got to pull it out. Is it small enough for you to carry with you, or is it something you got to put in a backpack, something you got to put in a bigger purse, something you got to put, whatever the case? Is it something you're going to be able to carry with you and something that you're actually going to remember to pull out all the time? Like you may, and especially, if you're not somebody who's used calendars like a lot, if you're not somebody who uses it for these purposes, can you reasonably expect yourself to pull it out? Like, okay, you know what? I need to adjust what I'm doing on the fly or whatever and pull out an actual calendar instead of just pulling out your phone. Your phone's probably already in your hand anyway. So this is where tools like Google Calendar, Outlook, Apple Calendar, Notion, things like Zoho, this is where things come into play. Personally, I've been exploring a lot of Notion with the different type of templates, everything, how I'm able to kind of integrate my calendars with it, because I use Google Calendar. Because I got 3-4 different calendars. I got the student government one, I got my work one, I got my personal one, I got my school one, and I got my, my Canvas one for all my assignments. So it's like I can look at all of those in one place, and then I can assign myself my roles, right? Like they come in the form of categories, but I can easily just erase it and rename those shits as roles and describe the tasks that I want to do for each role. And then boom, it has my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It has all my time slots where I'm able to put in everything, where I'm able to put in the tasks that I've assigned myself that week for those roles. It's like, okay, so one of the things that I've been wanting to work on, I work in the Rising Scholars Department. I've been working with their social media. I've been doing a lot of interviews with people, but they've been kind of just like, hey, very simple interviews, very minimal editing required, very minimal intentionality with the lighting. And now that I'm kind of learning how to do that stuff more and utilize the equipment that I got and utilize the places that I got, like I even got a place like this. I can have them come and I can do an interview here. I can shoot B-roll of them around the campus. I can do this, but that's not something that's going to be happening in one day. But that is something that, as my role as a Rising Scholars employee, social media person, I can put those things in different time blocks. Okay, so that's like an hour and a half, 2 hours every single day that I could be working on that. Or I could say 2 times a week in the morning, I'm working on that. I'm working on figuring out, tracking down students who want to do this stuff. I'm working on approaching students. I'm working on doing B-roll with people. I know what time I can get in this booth. So I have that time block for people. I know what time that they're out of class. So I might even catch them out of class, catch them coming out and do some B-roll with them. But that's the thing about it. is that I'm able to put those roles on there, and I'm able to assign myself roles, and I'm able to say, okay, like this is something I want to put there. And it's very easy to copy everything over. It's also very easy to look at it and say, okay, I want to add something. I want to take this away or put it on pause for a little bit, but it doesn't just disappear like in my written down pen and pad stuff. Because if I do the pen and paper stuff, if something doesn't carry over from the last week, like, okay, you know what? I was doing that tough last week. I don't need to do it this week. I have something else I want to do, but I want that to still be something I do, eventually. If I don't write it and write all of that detail right there, like it just disappears. But if I have something online in a digital format that follows me from my laptop to my phone to my other computer that I use at work to even the computers I use in the computer lab for my video production stuff, it follows me. I can just pull it up and look at it whenever I want. And then it also does this next thing. It color codes. Use color coding to differentiate between your personal, professional, and purpose-driven tasks in your calendars. And that is so much easier in a digital format. And I know it seems like I'm trying to sell you on a digital format, but I'm just saying that you have to really explore the pros and cons of each one. Now, if you're the type of person who you can take your pen and paper planner, weekly planner, and you have your different color, you have your either a pen and different color highlighters, or you have your different color pens, and doing it and writing it actually helps translate it into your brain to where you can glance at it and get all the information you need because you've written it down, looked at it and read it while you're writing it down, and it's kind of locked it into your brain. Like that might be why a pen and paper one might be better for you. And then, of course, whatever tool you got, we talked about this already, recurring tasks, automation. Automate your recurring tasks. Weekly meetings that are the same time every time. Exercise sessions. Work schedule. Kids' activities. Commute times. Make sure that they are in your digital calendars. Make sure that they are in your pen and paper calendars. And make sure that they are there. Set your recurring time blocks for activities. And also just to make sure, not just to make sure that you plan around stuff that you're already going to be doing so that you don't forget, like, hey, like, no, I wasn't actually free at this time. I really had all this stuff going. But then also that that stuff doesn't get neglected. Because one of the things that you can do is you can say, like, okay, like I really want to get to doing this. Like I wanted to do this at 6, but it's like, damn, I don't get off work till 5:30, and then I got to drive home. So instead of like devoting yourself fully to whatever time block you have at the moment, you're thinking about the future time block because you don't actually have your recurring task there. But if you say, okay, until 6 o'clock, I am this, I'm doing this, I'm fully focused on this. It takes up all of my attention. It takes up all of my energy until I am free to move on to the next thing, which will be at the end of the time block. And you do those for things that seem like regular, everyday, routine. You schedule them out just the same way you would schedule out your special shit. So that way you know that you were able to put all of your energy to it. You know you're able not to neglect it. And then also sync your personal and professional calendars. This is just, I talked about this with Notion. I know you can do this with like Outlook. I know you can do it with a lot of different tools. You want to make sure that all your calendars, you can even do this with Google Calendar. You want to make sure all your calendars are, either in one place to where you can look at all of them. You want to try to make it to where all your calendars show up on one calendar. And I think that's the easiest part about the pen and paper one is that it's just literally one book. Like you're not pulling out different books when it's different people telling you like, hey, I need you to come to this meeting. Okay, well, let me pull out my blue book because that's for work. Or you got an appointment with this person, a doctor's appointment. Okay, well, let me pull out my orange book because that's my health book. You're not doing that. You're pulling out the one book and every single appointment is there. And you may not think about it at the time to color code this stuff, but at the same point in time, for appointments and shit, or like even your recurring tasks, it doesn't matter if you color code them because that's the shit you're doing every day anyway. You color code the other stuff to help your mind switch to that mode when you're getting ready to switch to that activity. All right. So now that we've talked a little bit about um, kind of the mechanics of doing it, kind of the logistics of doing it, let's talk about just integrating purpose into our calendar. Let's talk about aligning tasks with purpose. So when we talk about scheduling purpose-driven tasks, when we talk about setting aside time for activities that align with our long-term personal and professional goals, like I said, the first thing that I like to do is I like to go with the roles from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And let's kind of dig a little bit deeper into those roles. And I'll do it from my own personal perspective. So one of the things, I'll give you 4 of the things that I want to do because it's 4 different types of activities. So one of the things that I want to do is I want to make sure that I am somebody who can be appealing on camera, right? I want to do this basically. Whether or not it's just like I'm talking to you, whether or not I'm trying to act, whether or not I'm trying to, get into that lane of it, or whatever the case, or whether I'm, trying to do whatever it is that I'm trying to do on camera. So now when it comes to that purpose, being on camera, there's a lot of different things that go into it. But the thing about it is that I can make that a role. And then when I make that a role, you think about different tasks that you do either daily or weekly that align with that role. Because that is like overarching purpose. That is overarching desire. That is an overarching place that where it is that you're trying to go. So when I say that I'm trying to build what I'm doing into something bigger, when I say that I'm trying to build this into something where I can get other people to come and talk about the same stuff that I'm talking about, but I want to help you get it, make it bigger than what it is before. And it comes to like building this platform first. It comes about learning how to manage this, learning how to grow it, learning how to make it better. Then also learning the physical production side of it, make it like just look more pleasing, so that somebody can come to me and say, hey, like I want to do this and I want it to look amazing and I know exactly how to do that, right? That's another role. So all these other tasks are going to it, whether it's looking up stuff online, whether it's going to get equipment, whether it's just even putting the time into doing stuff like this, trying to figure out different angles, trying to figure out different ways to sit, stand, trying to figure out different places that this would look good in, maybe trying to get an office, it's things like that, right? And then I think about the fact that I want to be an author, that I want to write books, entertaining books and books about my journey, my change, the things that I've done in my life. And there are different roles that go into it, or not different activities that go into that role. So you think about the fact that like, okay, every day I need to write. Like if I want to write, if I want to be an author, I have to write. So I find the time to write. I find the time to brainstorm and come up with ideas. I find the time also to get out in public to where I can do some of the exercises that I learned from like Neil Gaiman's advice, or Neil Gaiman. I don't know his name. He's a British dude. He's great author though. Great fantasy science fiction author. Amazing. He's worked with Terry Pratchett and everything. And he says to go out in public and look at people and like kind of write down, like, what do you think that person who's sitting on the bus with you would do in certain situations? I give myself time to do things like that. I give myself time to write short stories, things of that nature, right? So we've come across a whole bunch of different roles. One of them is physical. One of them is kind of mental. One of them is kind of on this business side. But then also I'm thinking about I want to give back. Also I'm thinking about I want to develop myself spiritually and socially. Also, I'm thinking about that. So I have another role and I put those things and I put activities there. And by doing the time blocking, by utilizing the calendar as the tool for that, I'm able to find the time to do these things. I'm also able to find my peak energy times to do this. I'm not just forcing things into places just because they fit. And I'm able to do these things also during my workday, because I've taken the time to go ahead and schedule these things out during my workday. Also, we got to review and reflect. I do it like every month. Now, if you have a daily calendar, if you just got a daily one where it's like every day you literally fill out what you're going to do that day, if that works for you, great. Review your shit weekly to make sure you're spending time on purpose-aligned tasks and make adjustments as needed. Set aside about 15 minutes at the end of the week to review what was accomplished and how time can be better allocated in the coming week. So let's say that you want to be camera ready. You want your body to be camera ready. And you've been at the gym. You've been doing your thing, and you've been working on your diet, doing your meal prep, and you've been doing all of these things, right? And you find that, your ideal time in the gym is not 3 hours. It might be an hour and a half. And you're finding the results. Make the changes on your calendar. If also you find that you're not getting the results that you want, and it's not related to the diet because you're following your diet strictly, but it's like, okay, you know what? I need to set myself more time in the gym. I need to be able to do more cardio at the end of my workout. I need to be able to do more of this. I need to be able to do more of that. I wasn't able to kind of squeeze out everything I wanted to squeeze out. So I feel like I didn't get the full, of what I needed and what I wanted to do and accomplish today in that gym. Make the change in your calendar. Make that change. If you want to be the author and you know that you're trying to get a book published by May of 2025, and you're writing a page a day, and the page a day is not adding up to you getting that book published in May 2025, give yourself more time to do it. Say, okay, you know what? If I'm copying this stuff from my handwritten copy into my computer and I'm making changes as I go, I'm doing kind of rewrites as I go. I'm not writing it exactly across the board because some stuff was either, continuity issues. It wasn't understandable. I couldn't even read some of the shit right. I was writing on different surfaces in prison, and I'm saying, okay, devoting myself an hour a day is not going to get this done in the timeline I want to get it done. Make sure that you are able to make the changes. Make sure that you're willing to find and make the changes that you need to find. And lastly, we're just going to talk about overcoming the challenges with calendars. Avoid overscheduling. That's what a lot of people do. A lot of people, when they start this thing, they say, okay, you know what? I'm going to fill up every single hour of every single day with all these huge sweeping changes and these, big overarching projects. Avoid that shit. Avoid overscheduling because it can lead to burnout. Leave yourself a buffer between tasks. Avoid back-to-back appointments. Allow for mental breaks. Allow for time to get a snack. Allow for time to shift, because a lot of times when you're moving, even because we've talked about batching, so this is going to eliminate a little bit of this stuff. But if you aren't allowing yourself a little bit of time to pause, stop, recharge between tasks of different types, you're going to burn yourself out. Then also, you got to be able to deal with unexpected changes. Unexpected disruptions or changes to your schedule, and reprioritize tasks when necessary. One of the things that I think about, and this came from the 7 Habits, is you keep a flexible mindset. You use your calendar as a tool for balance. A balance of being an interdependent person. Interdependence means that you don't need people to survive, but you know that you need people to thrive. You know that the source or the reason behind everything that you're doing, what you're doing, is people. A lot of times we don't equate our purpose with the impact that it's going to have on other people. We forget that. But go back to the root of what it is that you're trying to do, and who's at the core of what it is that you're trying to do. People. You're trying to give back to people. You're trying to sell something to people. You're trying to entertain people. You're trying to do things for people. It's for people. So if you ignore people during this whole process, you've missed the point. Allow yourself time to deal with, talk to, give back to, be affectionate towards, have relationships with people. And that's it. So yeah, we've talked about calendars today. That's what the letter C was. We talked about the importance of using a calendar for time management. We've talked about how calendars really help you with aligning tasks with purpose. We talked about time blocking. We talked about prioritizing tasks. And we talked about setting up a system that works. Remember, a goal without a plan is just a wish. A goal without a plan is just a wish. Dreams without goals, they fuel disappointment. Having a calendar can actually help you get there. It can help you align everything that you do with purpose. And it can help you align your day with purpose, your week with purpose, your month with purpose, your year with purpose. It can help you get to your purpose. That's ultimately where we all trying to go, right? We're trying to get to that purpose. We're trying to get to that end zone. We're trying to get to that touchdown. And taking the time to structurally plan, using things like calendars, using the tools that we have available to us, it will help us get there. It'll help us get there in the most efficient and timely manner without having to take any detours. All right. Once again, this has been your boy Trevor Turner. Thank you for watching the free hour. This has been your productivity video, the letter C for calendars. See y'all next week. Deuces.